All right, well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me for What the Heck is a Financial Planner and When and Why Do I Need One? I'm Lauryn Williams. I'm a four-time Olympian and I'm now a financial planner. And I just found frequently that athletes are a little bit hesitant to engage someone to help them with their finances. Like, we're quick to hire an agent to help us make the money, but then we're hesitant to hire someone to help us know what to do with the money. And I think it's because in the financial industry, it's so muddled and it's hard to know what exactly it is that you're looking for. So ultimately, you're like, I'd rather have no help than to have to try and figure all this out. But the truth is that if you make an expensive enough mistake, that you're going to end up wishing that you had some experts to help you. So the point of this evening is to kind of make you feel more comfortable if you decide at some point to reach out to a financial professional to help you organize your finances. So let's start with putting this all in perspective. What exactly are you training for? So we call ourselves professional athletes, which means it's our job to perform well. But is that the only thing that we're here for? Or is that what we're training for, is to do our job well, make money, and keep pressing the repeat button? We have to really figure out like what our goals are. So your personal goals, your financial goals, your goals as an athlete. And I'll challenge you guys, if you haven't actually ever written down your goals on all of those levels, to do that like ASAP. Because under that umbrella will fall the financial goals. And you might be tempted to put it off because you're like, ugh, I don't really want to deal with this. I'll get to it later. But I mean, that's those feelings because money is emotional. So there's a lot of societal perceptions that make us feel that money is a taboo topic and that it's something that we shouldn't be discussing and it's something that we all need to keep very private. But the truth is, it's a badge of honor. To be able to say, I have my stuff together and here's my plan and I had some help creating it. So what? You don't have to know everything about everything. And people kind of often assume that you have to know something about money, but where are we ever taught that? There's no high school class that's personal finance. So sorry, I went off on a little bit of a tangent, but we're getting back to this. What are your goals? So you have goals for this upcoming season. You should also have financial goals. Who's going to help you? So you have a coach, right? But why wouldn't you have a financial coach? And then what are they going to help you with? Like, what exactly does your coach do for you? She's there, he or she is there in the background, writing your workouts, kind of being forward looking about the things that you're not thinking about, and you're going and you're executing on a day-to-day basis, each practice, each competition, etc. The financial coach should be doing the same sort of thing. They're providing a written action items where you can see, like, okay, I looked at your long-term ideas and this is where we're going, and now here's how we implement that in the short term. But they're just like your coach in the fact that they can't run the race for you. So the financial planner cannot spend your money. You still have to make the right decisions for yourself. They're just going to provide the recommendations. The same way the coach cannot run the race for you. They can say, you need to hit this time in practice in order to be fast enough to win this race. But you got to get out there and perform. So what is the difference in all these different terms? You may have heard some of them: financial advisor, wealth manager, financial planner, financial coach, and I mean, it runs the gamut. There's probably 10 others that I could have listed here. And I know I said I was going to help you figure it out, but the truth is these titles mean very little. Being able to know something just by looking at these things, there are some minor implications, but at the same time, like, I could call myself a financial coach. I could call myself an advisor. You could call yourself a financial coach, a financial advisor, a wealth manager. So the thing that you want to look up is that where you want to start is kind of looking at the letters behind their name. So for example, MBA or CFP are things you'll often see behind people's names. There are some others, AIF, CFA. If you see letters behind their names, that means they have some sort of certification. And you need to find out what that is, because if they have ABC behind it, there might be Associate Bachelor of Cats. And it looks fancy because they got some letters behind their name, but is it relevant to the financial industry? So that's one area that you can look at to be able to say, what is this person's area of expertise? What kind of qualifications does they have? But also just asking, tell me about your education, tell me about your experience, because it's not so plain and simple in the financial planning industry. And so one of the main things that people do is like they hear financial advisor and they think, oh my goodness, this is somebody who wants to invest my money. And there is a large part of the industry that is into just investing money. That's how they make money, is by investing. They don't do other things, and that's the main source of their income. And so the industry has been painted as, if you need a financial professional to help you, you must need investing. And if you don't have anything to invest, maybe you don't need a financial professional. But the reality is that financial planning is not just investing. It's just, as it says, it's a plan. And so as the name implies, you need a full plan about everything that's a part of your life. So there's a lot of people that don't really understand that aspect of it. But really, you're trying to figure out how to create a plan to make your finances work for you and not just invest your money. So what does that entail? There's a lot of words here. It entails a lot of stuff. So student loans, tax deductions, emergency savings, 401ks, all kinds of retirement plans, IRAs, and the list just goes on and on and on. And looking at these words probably just makes you want to scream. But the same way you might not know how to write your daily workouts is, like I was saying before, you can't juggle all these things and figure out even where to start sometimes. That's where a financial professional comes into the picture and helps you know exactly what it is that you're supposed to be doing, what this plan looks like, looking at the big picture for you, getting it all small and compact so that you know which thing you need to bite off and chew first. Maybe you need to build your emergency fund, and then you need to start saving, for the long term. And so what is this called, this thing? It's financial planning, but like, is there something else for it? And the answer is yes. Like, when someone deals with all these different aspects of helping you get your financial life together, it's called comprehensive planning. And so comprehensive planning deals with 6 core areas, which are the fundamentals, which is things are like budgeting, first-time home purchase, getting your cash flow together, making sure you're saving enough, all the little things that are pertain to your money. And then there's taxes, insurance, estate planning, which is getting, wills in place, stuff like that, retirement. And the thing about athletes is you retire twice. So that's the thing you need to be thinking about. And that's what the financial professional you work with needs to be thinking about. You're going to retire from sports, move on with life, and then, retire at whatever age you see fit based on, your savings. So retiring is a really big one when you're talking to a financial professional. And so who's going to have knowledge in all of these different areas? The truth is, like I said before, when I was showing you all the different names of things that exist, that some will and some won't have knowledge in all these different areas. And that's why you need to ask these questions. The only professional that has to have knowledge in all of these areas is a CFP. So that's a certified financial planner. This is the certification that requires you to have significant education in all of these different areas so that you are well-rounded to be able to provide advice in all these areas. And I should say, too, that they don't do your taxes as a CFP. You still need to be a CPA or some sort of tax person in order to do that, or do your insurance or estate planning. You still need an attorney for your estate planning. But a certified financial planner will know enough about that to be able to refer you to the right person and to know when it's time to refer you, and will work in close communication with those people as your plan is getting built. So yeah, if you mapped out something in all of these different categories for yourself, then you may be like a real do-it-yourselfer. And the only thing you might need is to pay somebody hourly once in a while to kind of make sure you're on the right track and figure out if there's anything that you need to do to kind of boost yourself a little bit. But if you can actually master all of these and you have all these things taken care of in your personal finances, then maybe you're one of the few that doesn't need a financial planner on an ongoing basis. But that leads me to the next topic, which is paying. So paying, this is about investing in yourself. And I think one of the things that is really hard for people is to realize, like, why would I pay somebody to help me with my finances? Like, I'm going to put money out of my pocket, and the whole point is I'm supposed to be saving my money. So it sounds crazy, but it is necessary to spend money in order to save money. So for example, health insurance. You don't go to the doctor daily, and everyone, of course, hates paying their monthly premium, but spending that money up front results in huge savings if the situation comes up where something catastrophic happens. You know, if you need surgery, you don't want to write that check. So if you're paying on the ongoing basis for the financial planner, or, you know, you're enlisting this person for their services, then what you're probably saving yourself is the mistakes that you might make that might be really expensive mistakes. You buy a house at the top of the market. You know, maybe the financial planner knows that and tells you you should avoid, you know, this is not a good time for you to buy. Those are the sort of things that having someone on and paying them to know, because you're not aware of all the different balls and things that are moving, to be able to save you money. So it's really about trying to understand the value of having someone around so that you can avoid these expensive mistakes. Another example too, I was thinking, it was like, if your planner tells you need to pay taxes. There was someone recently who said they didn't know what an accountant was. So they didn't realize that they had to pay taxes. And just the planner telling them that they needed to pay taxes, they didn't actually do the tax return for them. They saved that person money. So you have to think of all the different ways when you're working with a planner. It may not just be like right up close and personal of the ways they're saving you money, but having them around that will actually help you know and understand that your money is being saved, or it's being cared for well because you're working with someone. So then we need to know about, like, what are the different kinds of ways to pay? We just talked about it's important to pay, but how do you pay? And I think that's another thing that gets a little bit muddled, which makes people feel like they can't work with a financial person. It's like, I'm not really sure. What if they steal my money? This is a little bit sketchy. He told me it was free. So there's 3 different kinds. And there are some good people and bad people, as in the industry, that say, you know, for anything you do. So there'll be good people and bad people that provide any of these 3 kinds of financial planning. But there is a preference, I think, over one over the other. But the most important thing is that you feel comfortable and that you understand the expertise. So the first one is called fee only. So this person works for you, not an investment company. That means that they don't get compensation from the companies for selling products. So some companies will specifically want to sell you something and say, you know, here's this thing, it's the best thing for you. But is it really the best thing for you, or is the only thing that their company has available to sell you? A fee-only professional is not going to sell financial products. They're going to charge you a flat fee. And they're obligated to put the client's interest first. So that means that they have to do what's in your best interest. And you would think that with everybody, that everyone should put your best interest first, right? You're the client paying, you want the best things, but that's not the case for all sorts of planners. So you need to make sure that you verify that someone is obligated to put your best interest first. And then the way that they'll charge, what fee only means is they'll either charge you AUM fee, which means assets under management. So if you have money that's already ready to be invested, they'll charge you a % of that money that's ready to be invested. Or they'll charge you hourly, which will be, you know, they'll say, I think it's going to take 10 hours for me to create a financial plan, and I am $100 an hour. So your fee is going to be $1,000. Or what's new and more preferable for young people is a monthly retainer model. So that says, usually you pay me an upfront amount, and then we're gonna pay monthly from that point on, and we're going to work together on an ongoing basis. And so most young people prefer that because you're not coming out of a big chunk of money at one time, and then it's kind of spread out, and you're getting continuous service. Uh-oh, my clicker's not working. So then you have commission-based planners. And so commission people are paid a commission for selling investment products, which is the opposite of what I just described to you earlier. They usually work for a brokerage firm. And so the more transactions that they complete, or the more accounts that they open, the more he or she makes Just like if you're a real estate agent, the more houses you sell, the more you make. If you sell one house, there's only so much you can make off of that one house. And so the primary focus is on investments because that's where they make money, is by selling these investment products. There are some commission people who will do comprehensive planning, but you need to make sure that you verify that because generally they're going to be focusing on investments. And the other thing to remember too is that some advisors have the fees that are hidden. So if you ever hear an advisor say, I'm paid by someone else, you don't have to worry about it. They're not just going to take your money and provide these services out of the goodness of their heart and someone else is going to pay them to do that. There are some fees somewhere. So if anyone ever says something or makes it sound like it's free or almost free to provide their services, make sure you run the opposite direction. And this is why it's so important, once again, to ask, what kind of licenses do you have? What are they actually going to do for you? What do these licenses that you have allow you to do for you, to do for me? And then last but not least, we have fee-based. And so fee-based is basically a combination of the two, where an advisor is going to collect a fee and then also be able to collect commissions for any products that he or she needs to sell you as well. So they'll collect, for instance, a flat fee for your investment, or they'll charge based on what I told you earlier, which is called assets under management, which means I have $100,000 that I want to, make my money grow, save for retirement, and they'll just charge you a flat percentage on that. But they may also be charging for the transactions that are happening behind the scenes in order to make trades on your account and things like that. And yeah, so they'll earn a commission if they sell financial products, and that is the hybrid. So some people now are switching toward fee-based, like fee only is one option, commission is the other option, and then fee-based is kind of like a little bit of both. So there are some questions that I've put here for you to be able to ask if you ever want to interview a financial professional. And so I also will email you guys a sheet. If anyone's interested, you can just get my email address and I'll send you guys over a full sheet so that if you're ever interviewing someone, you'll have questions and you'll also have a little bit of a description underneath each question to know and be able to verify what other people like. Here's the answer, and then did this person say that answer as well, or did they say something completely different from that? And then that will at least lead you to wanting to find more information. So are you obligated to put my needs ahead of your own? So that's what we were saying earlier. It's some people's obligation to put your best interest first, and there's others that they just have to do what's suitable, which means if they have product X and it's the only product that their company sells and it's okay, even though another company has product Y and it's probably a little bit better for you, they're only allowed to sell what their company has, and this is the most suitable thing within that company. So you want to make sure when you're talking to somebody that they are a fiduciary. And it's kind of like the new cool in term to say, like, oh, fiduciary, I'm a fiduciary. But really, there are some people who have been a fiduciary all along, who've always put your best interest first, whose certifications and education comes with a fiduciary responsibility. And there are others that are being forced now to be fiduciaries because the Department of Labor is saying, hey, there's some shady stuff happening in the financial industry, and we need to make sure that there's a standard here that we hold financial professionals to when serving clients. So just make sure you know and you kind of understand that. And then you want to ask them, what services do you provide? So do they do everything that you need done? If you need budgeting, do they provide budgeting? If you're going to need help with your first time home purchase, do they help you with stuff like that? What other things are you going to provide outside of investing? And if you're providing investments, like, what does that mean? What does that look like? How do you get paid for doing that? I need to know everything about these services. How often are we going to meet? And then who is your ideal client? Because not everyone is qualified to work with everyone. So, somebody might specialize in doctors and dentists, and yeah, they might be able to provide some basic financial help to you, but there might be some things they miss because you're an athlete. So you want to know who is their ideal client. And if they say something like, well, I typically work with people who are 60 or 70 years old getting ready for retirement, but, I'll make an exception for you. And they're trying to make it sound like, you're being privileged by being invited in. That might be a red flag to say, behind the scenes, secretly, they don't work with anyone. They don't have a lot of clients, and I'll really take anybody that's alive, but I really wish I could work with people in their 60s and 70s. So just make sure that you know and you understand who it is that they're looking for. And a good planner too would be able to tell you, you're not a good fit for me. Let me introduce you to somebody else who is a good fit for you. And it might be because personalities don't mix. It might be because they don't have expertise in your profession. But a good client would say, hey, I don't know very much about this. Let me refer you to someone else who knows a little bit more about this. And like I said, everybody can cover the basics, but to find someone that has expertise in the area that you're passionate about or the thing that you work in, like I said, if you're a doctor, if you are a pharmacist, finding someone who's niche to your market can be really helpful in helping know and understand the nuances of what it is that you're going through. And we talked about this quite a bit, but how do you charge? So how often will you be, how do you charge? Are you fee only? Are you fee based? Are you commission? How often am I going to have to pay? Is there a large upfront amount? Do I have to pay annually? Is there some type of contractual obligation? And then how often will you be in touch with me? So can I call you every day if I have a question? Am I only supposed to call you once a month? A lot of planners meet their clients either quarterly or semi-annually. So either, 4 times a year or 2 times a year. But just make sure you know that up front, because if you have different expectations in the planner, then, he's going to be dodging your calls, or you're going to be wanting something but not necessarily getting it. So make sure you get that flushed out. And you may not need to talk to them as often as their meetings are set up, but it's also good to check in and find out what the latest is with your situation. And then who will be the custodian? So there's private custodians, and then there's FDIC insured custodians. And so this is interesting because some athletes like to have the concierge services of bill pay. And, that's a really great service to know that someone's paying your bills. They should be looking after things for you. But that also entails custody. So they have custody of your money. They can, they have your passwords. They have things on they have your account information. Whereas a custodian is a FDIC insured company that is like the keepsaker of your company. So even though your financial advisor would make the trades or change the investments as the market is going up and down, they can't actually withdraw your money out of that account. So that's what you need to make sure that you understand, like who will be the custodian of your money. And last but not least, I think it's important that you just know that you're a person. You're not just a bank account. And when you're interviewing a financial professional, that you should be talked to as a person, not, how many assets are you under management? How much money do you have in the bank? Those are questions that you must get to work with a financial planner. But you don't need to be considered just a bank account. If someone makes you feel that way, then you should run the other direction. At this time, I will open it up for questions. Jay?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. No, I think I guess I did come late, so I may ask a question that has already been probably answered. But like, at what stage monetarily should you be looking at getting a financial advisor? Say like a price, not a price range, but just like how much money should I have at least to start with to then start considering a financial advisor?
So that really depends on how much you're willing to spend on a financial person to help you. So there are some advisors that will say, like I said, you need $1 million in assets before we can help you, or you need 150,000 in the bank before we can help you. But then there are other planners too that will say, I charge on a monthly basis. So it may be $500 up front, and then I charge $100 a month. Well, that's a lot more affordable than waiting until you have $1 million in the bank to ask for help. And then there's another step down from there where you can go to financial coaching. where people generally pay, 40 or 50 bucks a month. And it's an ongoing thing to kind of get yourself, like you said, a budget. It'll get you figured out as it pertains to what your cash flow looks like, trying to get your basic savings together. So there's no real number as it pertains to when you can start working with someone. And people often financial professionals often make you feel like that. But if you're talking to someone and they say, oh, you need 100,000 in the bank before I can start to work with you, then ask them if they will refer you to someone else that can help you on a more basic level, because it's never too early to start working with somebody with your finances. It's just one of those things where you've got to be willing to make the investment. So the very bottom of the totem pole, it could get down to, like I said, about 40 or 50 bucks a month. And it could go all the way up to, 1% of assets, which if you have $1 million, that's $10,000. So it runs the gamut. You just got to figure out what you can afford and what kind of work you're willing to put in. Because on the coaching level, there's a little bit more of you having to be willing to kind of get your finances in order. So you need to create a budget. You need to track your spending. The person is there kind of as accountability partner to walk you through that. Or like I said, if you're getting ready to do a first-time home purchase, they can provide guidance on there, but ultimately that's going to be left up to you to go and speak to the mortgage broker, et cetera. Does that kind of make sense?
It does.
Other questions? Hi, Christina. Can you hear us?
I have another question.
Yeah, go for it.
Is it kind of maybe am I thinking too much of myself if I think I'll be able to handle my finance on my own? I think if you're a very disciplined person, is it I just thinking too much of myself, or do I really need?
No, definitely not. So let me skip to this slide. So that's the thing, is that I think a lot of people don't get help because they realize everybody has to make a living. No one is exempt from earning money and having to use money to live their life. Sorry, I'm trying to skip ahead. Here it is. But at the same time, there's also experts that help you handle your money. So if you don't feel like you have a good control over your money, then that's when you need to bring someone else into the picture. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So you're just plugging along all lucky. I think it's a good idea to at least kind of engage someone to talk about, like, hey, I think I got my stuff together. This is kind of where I'm at. This is where I'm headed. This is my plan. Do you agree or disagree? And then having somebody to objectively be able to look at your situation, because you're up close and personal with your situation. So there may be things you're overlooking because you feel like you need that new TV, or you feel like you need to invest in this rental property. You feel like, you've thought about it and you think it makes good sense, but there might be some things you're not thinking about. So it's good to check in with somebody. And so this is the slide where I was talking about that. Comprehensive planning is fundamentals, where we're just talking about home buying, getting your savings together, getting your budget together, getting your student loan debt under control, things like that. And then taxes is, making sure that you're doing things that are tax efficient. So are you putting enough money into your retirement account to kind of shelter yourself a little bit from taxes? Are there other things you can be doing if you're an entrepreneur to save money from taxes? And then insurance is, if you kick the bucket, where does all this money go? And, how do you want to protect your family if something like that was going to happen? So that's kind of the estate planning and the insurance aspect of it. Estate planning is really more about if you kick the bucket. The insurance is to cover those things. Or if you're like younger and you buy a house, for example, you might want to have insurance while you're trying to build up your savings until, 30 years from now down the road, your house is paid off. Now you don't need that insurance anymore, because the biggest thing is that if you kick the bucket and your wife or your spouse is still alive, who's going to help you who's going to help them pay the mortgage? And so you might want to have insurance just to cover those things. So there's a lot of different moving parts. And then I was saying too earlier that athletes retire twice. So you're going to retire once from sport, and then you're going to retire again at age whatever it is that you choose. Usually it's about 67 for our age group now, but if you get more money in the bank, you can retire early. And so just looking at that too, a financial professional should be able to run a projection for you to say, okay, based on what you have, based on the way that it's invested and the way that you expect it to grow, this is the age that you can retire and you feel like you should be able to live off your money for the rest of your life without working. So those are the sort of things that some people can't do on their own, is kind of those retirement projections. But if you're a good saver, you got these things under control, you don't have any kids or a wife, you might not have a need for insurance. Estate planning, everybody should have some basic documents in place, which is like a will, a durable power of attorney, a medical power of attorney. So if you get into a car accident and you're incoherent, who gets to make those medical decisions for you while you're not conscious? And if it comes up to a situation where it's time to pull the plug, who gets to make that decision versus do you want to stay on, do you not? It's something we don't like to think about, but everybody needs those documents, whether you're married or not. And then also the investment piece. There are a lot of platforms now that you can use and you can invest on your own. Okay, I need an IRA, I need a Roth IRA. You can Google those things and figure it out. I need a SEP IRA. And you can go to betterment.com or vanguard.com and figure it out, put your money in there, and it can be easy breathing. So it's definitely something that can be done on your own, but you have to realize whether or not you're doing these things on your own. Does that make sense?
That it does.
Christina, do you have any questions?
I guess I'm thinking, does USATF have like mentors who can help people towards this, or people we can bounce ideas off of?
USA Track and Field doesn't have anyone in place right now to, there's no official program. I've been granted an incubator grant where I'm allowed to serve 10 athletes that are within the tier system. Cool. But outside of that, I don't think that there's anything formal where USATF has put something in place to kind of talk through this. But there are many athletes, like you said, if you're just looking for like a general mentor who will talk openly about finances, what you need to be thinking about as a professional athlete. And so if you're just looking for someone to chit chat with about it, I can definitely put you in touch with somebody that would be willing, I would be willing to help you just kind of talk about it.
Cool.
Yeah, but there's no formal program in place by USA Track and Field right now. You should suggest that though.
Maybe I will.
Jocelyn?
But that was all I had for questions.
That's it? I have a question for you guys. What are you using now, like to create a budget and, just kind of like the basic fundamental stuff? I think budget is usually where everybody kind of starts. So is there some cool tool, or how are you managing and monitoring that?
I guess I'll start. I use an app called Mint, and it's linked to my bank account, and it allows me to just check my finances. I have a budget for, going out, and I have a budget for internet. I have a budget for my rent, utilities, and things like that. And it'll show me my target amount per month that I'm allowed to spend, I guess. And then it'll tell me in the areas based on the categories of my debit card, it'll put it into the correct category if I go over in that. So usually my fun category will be over by X amount, and I can visually see that and say maybe, next time I won't go and buy X, Y, and Z. So that's one thing that helps me stay on track with budget, at least monthly. One of the tools I use.
Cool. How often do you go into Mint? Do you go into it weekly or just once a month and kind of see? Or?
No, I usually check this to be financially responsible at least 3 times a week. So I want to make sure that I'm on target, and it's just a peek in and I'm looking at it and then I log out. So, and then at least once a week I'll go in depth and see, I'll kind of organize it a little bit and see where I went a little more expensive this week into next week. So it gives me more insight inside my wallet. So I'm not, spending my rent money on a TV or something stupid.
That's good. That's really responsible. Christina?
I'd say for me, I'm pretty much old school. I'll just take pencil, paper, and I'll know pretty much what I'm going to be getting for the next paycheck, and I'll Like I'll have a thing where I'll be like, okay, this is my wish list. This is what I want to do this week, but this is what I have bill-wise, and I'll just like break it down.
Is it in a notebook or is it like on a sheet of paper?
Yeah, it's in a notebook.
Okay.
And then I track like how well I did sometimes, or I'll see where I need to improve and how I need to like rein it in, or what I can do for future projections of how I want to use it in the future. So.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm with Christina on that one. Yellow notepad, projecting, hours versus rate of pay, and then what, bills come first, and then what's left over is allocated to different things that I might need to do. It's kind of needs right now. So that's pretty much what I'm doing as well.
Oh.
Do you have any recommendations of how you've done it in the past, Lauryn?
So my go-to thing that I use with my clients is called You Need a Budget. I love it. It's been life-changing for me to get off of paper. So I've put in paper too, and I'm like, I'm never going to go to anything electronic. It's too complicated. And I actually know another planner that was using You Need a Budget with his clients. And we just kind of mapped it out, and it started to work so much better. And he was getting a lot better results than kind of doing like spreadsheets, or, he said a lot of people had them written. The thing with You Need a Budget is that you kind of need someone to hold you accountable just to get going, because you get overwhelmed. Like you said, because it's different from pen and paper, you're like, wait, how does this work? Hold on. Can you tell me again? Like, that sort of thing. And I find that, I think my clients wouldn't have stuck to it. It's not a hard thing to use. It's on the internet. It's open to the public. You get 34 days free, so you can give it a try. But I think just that initial kind of new, something that's new, there's like, never mind. Or they don't really get it all set up, and then they don't want to follow it. So like Jay was saying, that he goes in there 2 or 3 times a week, and once you get Mint set up, or whatever it is that you decide to use, and you understand how it works, it's easy to go in there and just check and make sure you're on track. So I really, really, really love You Need a Budget. And they have little emails that they'll send you that'll explain to you kind of, getting set up and what you need to do. It's just like kind of sticking it out that first month. And then once you're rolling, you're going to be like golden. I use it for my business. I use it personally. I'm getting married, so we're like merging budgets. It's the same sort of thing where you can put your accounts together, put the, sync your accounts to the app in order to be able to see all your transactions. So if you're eating too much, eating out too often, or, if you're overdoing it on groceries or whatever it is, your fun money. So yeah, that's my go-to.
Okay. Good deal.
Yeah, check it out. Have you guys spent any time thinking about like this first retirement that I was talking about? So like what life after sports looks like. I see everybody here is pretty young, so it's like, I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna do sports for the next 10 years. I don't think about that.
Honestly, for me, just I'm starting an online business right now, and that was kind of my thinking from the get-go, is just long-term. Sports isn't gonna last forever. What if you get hurt? That's kind of your moneymaker. Break an ankle, then you lose the money. And so trying to start something now that will span both careers, and hopefully making the athletic money secondary, actually. So that's kind of my thinking. Hopefully that works.
The thing too about having a plan too is that the plan is always going to change. Life is going to happen, but it's still important to have something in place instead of just being reactive. So I think it's really good that you have something in place, Jocelyn. Like, even though they said something may change, it may not work out exactly as possible, at least you know what you're working toward in this moment.
Yeah.
Jay, have you thought about first retirement, life after sport?
Yeah, no, I have been. I've been saving just a little bit away from every year from the money that I made in track. It's not that much, but no, I've been working closely with the field that I want to go into, education. So I still have some connections and things like that. I work at a high school, so I've just been kind of being close to the field that I want to go into after track and field while still in track and field. So I think I'll have a plan.
That's good. That's good. These are good people I have on tonight. Congratulations, yeah. Christina?
So I want to go back to school and I want to be a physical therapist, but I definitely need to step it up as far as the financial side of planning it out. Mm-hmm. So I got a little bit of work to do.
So like student loans and stuff might be something you have to take on if you don't start saving enough. Is that kind of?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't want student loans, right?
Mm-mm. And I also want to save so that because the first few years while you're getting established, the money isn't coming as well. And so I want to also save for the fact that I want to get my feet under me when I do start practicing. So it doesn't have to be all relying on me being new and having to have that be my only income.
Exactly. Yeah. If there's one thing I can stress, multiple streams of income is great. To be able to diversify yourself.
Yeah. So
much. And, this age, if you will, gotten away from, work your 35 years, collect your pension, and, that good old voice system. It's not guaranteed by businesses. They're ever changing. Technology is ever changing. So, you might have a job today and might not have one tomorrow. That's why it's good to have 3 or 4 gigs, kind of, something up your sleeve, or, freelancing, multiple clients that you're working with, so that you're not dependent on just any one thing as you're going forward. Okay. Well, if there are no other questions, I did have a little survey that I skipped over, and I just remembered that I skipped over at the beginning. So if you guys go to this link here, worth-winning.com/budgeting. So we're going to do like an old school thing, but we're doing it the new school way. So you remember, well, I don't know if anyone ever went to summer camp, but in summer camp, I went to summer camp, they made you write a letter to yourself, and then they mailed it back to you 6 months later, sort of thing. So this is the link. So if you go to this link, then you press questionnaire. Are you guys there yet? I'm sorry. Look, I told you to go. I can stop the share.
Wait. What was
I can already put it in the chat for you guys. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh yeah, that'll work.
Perfect. See it?
Yep.
Okay. So then when you get there, you can actually probably click on it. Just click the questionnaire one and then fill it out. And then I'll send it back to you guys in a couple months. I found this to be really effective. I don't know where I thought it up, but and I send it back to some people 3 or 4 months later. The longest I've waited so far is 8 months to send it back. I was you get nervous, to wait a year to send it back. You're just I don't know if it's too far, they remember me that I took this information. But it's been really impactful for people to see, what they said, and then to later on down the road see if they're working toward those goals.
I like it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? We did pretty good tonight. 7:49. We got 11 minutes to spare. Ask me anything.
Second, go ahead.
What is your suggested first step for becoming debt-free?
Yes, that's a great question.
So the first thing about becoming debt-free is getting a grip on how much debt you have. So sometimes you see a number and then you see that number growing and you get overwhelmed and you're just I'm never going to pay this off. I'm paying $25 a month and it's going up, $100 a month. So really starting to understand what is this debt? What is this interest rate? And what is the real amount? Because the amount that they tell you need to pay is not necessarily the amount you need to pay in order to become debt-free. And then really starting to prioritize your goals. Because one of the things with debt is, you took on this debt because you didn't have enough money to pay for something, whether it be student loans, credit card debt, mortgage, etc. But what style of living can I accommodate for myself in order to be able to get on top of this debt? And so that may be, let's say you're not making a lot of money. Let's say you're making $20,000 a year right now, and you have $100,000 in student loan debt. It's like, where do I even start? Well, that's when you have to take a step back and say, maybe I need to, take on a roommate. Maybe I need to, buckle down for 3 months and eat oodles and noodles so that everything I have can go towards this debt. But the other thing too is knowing and understanding, like I said, what kind of debt you have. So if it's credit card debt, it's going to be really hard to have them work with you and figure out what it is that you need to do in order to get it off. Like, you're going to have to figure out how to pay that off. And I would suggest paying off the one with the highest interest rate first, because that is just going to keep stacking up. Some people do the loan with the highest balance first. And so they want to get the one with the highest balance off, because the smaller ones are going to accumulate at a lesser rate because they're a smaller balance. So if you're paying 10% on $1 versus 6% on $300,000, the interest that you're paying on a monthly basis is different. So you really need to get a grip on what kind of debt that you have. And then the next step is really just, like I said, figuring out how you can best tackle that. What amount can I put toward that, and what can I give up in order to be able to put that amount toward it? In the student loan situation, if you have all federal loans, there's income-based repayment plans. So what they're going to put you in, you're going to get their 6 months of, grace period. That's not what it's called. Anyways, you get grace period. And then your loans will kick in. And they'll just put you on the standard repayment plan. Standard repayment plan is going to let you pay the loan off in 10 years. So they're going to calculate the payment for you as if you need to pay off 10 years. That might be a too big amount. So if you're fresh out of school, let's say you're making entry-level money and you got $200,000 or $300,000 in loans, when they tell you what the amount is that you need to pay, you're like, wait, what? I can't afford this. I can't pay my rent and pay this loan. Like, this loan is a rent payment.
It's a rent payment.
Right. So that's when you need to look into income-based repayment. And income-based repayment is going to be based off of your income. So if your income is low enough, your income-based repayment might be zero. And if anybody has student loans, let me tell you, the first thing you need to do is avoid forbearance and deferment. I think a lot of people say, I'm broke, I can't pay these. Let me just pretend they don't exist by putting them into forbearance or deferment, which means you don't need to pay them for a period. You say that you have a hardship of some sort, and they allow you not to do that. So the thing about that too is that the clock is ticking with forbearance. So you're going to run out of, you can put it in forbearance if you want, and then after maybe 3 years, there's no more forbearance left. So what happens if you really need to use forbearance in the future and it's not available to you anymore? That's why it's better to get on income-based repayment right from the jump. Because like I said, if you don't make a lot of money, your payment might be $10 a month. It might be $100 a month. But it could also be zero and you still be on that payment plan instead of in deferment or in forbearance. Does that make sense? I know I've jumped all over the place a little bit. So yeah, with student loans, income-based repayment, and then, figure it out from there. And after you get to a certain point with income-based repayment, let's say you don't make, your earnings don't increase enough that you're able to pay this loan off over 20 years, there's going to be some money left over that you owe, but the government is going to forgive that. So it's like, I paid as much as I could based on my income for, the amount of time you told me. And now they're just like, well, all this that's left over, we forgive it. But another thing, so there's a lot of caveats. This is once again where the financial planner comes in play, is because they've got to have knowledge in all these different areas. But when they forgive that money, there's going to be tax consequences for it. So they're going to treat that money like earnings. So if they say it's $300,000 in loans that you didn't pay or that they're forgiving, they're going to tax you as if you made $300,000 that year. So you need to be saving money to be able to pay taxes on what would look like $300,000, even if you got rid of those loans. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into it. You can conquer them. Step number one is to, like you said, see what you have, know and understand it, and then look at like how long can I dedicate to getting this paid off. Like if you want to get it paid off in a year, work backwards and say, all right, this is what I need to do to pay this off in a year. And when you get down to whatever number you need to be able to pay it off in a year, then you need to work back from your expenses. Like you said, it might be a lot of money, but it might be moving back home with your parents for X amount of time. but it may be worth it just to get that stuff off your back so that you can start fresh 12 months from now versus having that follow you around for 5 years or 10 years or however long it follows you.
Yeah. Yes, a few more questions. To do with credit, how quickly can you change your credit score and student loan or any affect your credit score?
So student loans, if you're not paying, it's just like a mortgage or any other kind of debt that you take out. They are tied to your Social Security number, and so if you're not paying them on time, then they're going to hurt your credit. In the same way, if you do pay them on time, that's something that can help build your credit. And so with the new student loans now existing, people always thought they needed a credit card in order to build credit, but once your loans kick in and you start paying those on time, in addition to your other bills, the credit reporting agencies have all of that in the background. So the myth that you need a credit card and credit is not a real one. And the other question was about how long?
Or how quickly can your credit score go up? I'm sure it can drop pretty quickly, but how quickly can it go up?
It can go up in a matter of months for sure. It's just a matter of, like I said, what they're measuring. That's probably going to be important as it pertains to like making a vast change in your credit score is the amount of debt you have in relationship to the amount of debt you have available. So let's say you have a credit card and it has a $10,000 balance and you owe $1,000. So they see that you have a lot of space there to be able to loan and you're not loaning. And they're like, oh, you must be in good financial health. Whereas if you have a credit card with $10,000 and you owe $9,000 or look $9,999, they're like, ooh, she's paying her payment, so we're not gonna do anything bad. But at the same time, like you're not in a good place right now. So things like that, being able to reduce your debt, will show them that you have more leeway and more discretionary income, which will help your credit score go up.
Question to build off of that. What if you don't have a credit card and you want to raise your credit score higher?
So different ways to raise your credit score are all your other bills. So if you have a car, for example, a car loan that you've been approved for, if you're on something that is your parents', even your cell phone, like they take your Social Security number when they do your cell phone, they do a credit check, they usually make you put a deposit down if you don't have good credit. So paying your bills on time has a lot more weight than people like to let you think in order to figure things out. Is that kind of?
Yeah. So pay your bills on time.
Yeah.
And Lauryn, you talked earlier about like having multiple streams of income. How did you go about time managing that while you were training and still like be successful?
I was always up to something. So yeah, while I was training and, I think it's good to say too that I was an athlete that made a lot of money. So I didn't have to work, but I really understood the value of, like you said, I could fall down and break my leg and this contract could go away. And so what am I going to do in the meantime? And so I looked into real estate, but I didn't just look into real estate and say, oh, I'm going to buy a house and I'm going to, become a real estate mogul, which a lot of people do. And they think they're going to be like a slumlord or a landlord or something like that. But I went and I got the real estate license. So I went to learn about like how exactly does this real estate market work. And then when I purchased the house, I started to use it too for Airbnb when Airbnb came available. I did do rental properties for a while, so that was one thing. And then in the more recent years, like I run my own financial planning firm, but I also, I do speaking engagements. I occasionally do clinics and things like that. But I've tried just about everything there is just because I don't want to tell my clients to go try this thing and not necessarily be a good thing. So like Uber, for example, if you need side income and, it's flexible, it allows you to work whatever hours you want. What can you actually make? Because, they have it listed somewhere that you can make like $34 an hour. And I'm like, that's a little bit sketchy. You can probably make more like $17 an hour, which is not bad. But I want to be able to tell people, yeah, this is real or this is not real. So those are some of the things that I did as alternate streams of income. But I would take like side gigs, just kind of like looking after people's kids. I was always just like up to something. Like I didn't ever think I was above earning an income or figuring out ways or things that I could add to my resume while I was competing in sports, because you have to figure out how to be flexible. I did a few internships. So I worked at Citibank. I worked for a real estate investment company because I was a finance major. I have a master's in business. I did a master's degree while I was competing, was another thing. So yeah, I just kept my hands in as much as possible is the short answer.
Cool. Good deal, good deal.
Yeah. Nobody else? Questions, comments, concerns?
No, this is great. I'm trying to think of some more, but I can't.
Well, thank you guys for joining me tonight. It's a small group, but it was an awesome group.
Thanks for taking time out to give us advice.
Yeah, definitely.
It was really helpful.
Yeah, and it's recorded too, so if you missed a little bit on the front end, you can go back and watch that part and see what I was saying. And I'll post that link in Slack. Is everybody on the Slack group? The USA Track and Field AAC Slack? Yeah.
I don't think I am. How do you get on that?
Let me give you my email address, and then I'll take yours, and then I'll get you guys added. Where do I put find my email address? One second.
What events do you guys do?
Hurdles, 110 hurdles.
Okay, cool.
I run the 800 and the 1500.
Ooh.
What do you run or jump or throw?
I am a hammer thrower.
Cool. Good deal.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys gave me that. Okay, let's see.
Got a little flavor from every section.
Right.
Yeah.
We're a diverse group this evening.
Yeah, you do bobsled, so.
Lauren, how was that?
How was what?
Doing bobsledding, like being a track athlete and then like being a bobsledder. Like how was that?
It was the best experience of my life. I don't regret it at all. I think it changed me completely as a person. So you know how like people get all like spiritual, personal growth, you know, all these like kind of fluffy, you're not really sure. Like it was like that. So I didn't know that I was in a place where I needed this opportunity to help me grow, but it made me grow in a way that like was unbelievable.
Cool.
And it's not a cliche at all to see like the way that God moved in my life during those 6 months. From just like figuring out how to work together with others, that, you know, there's a bigger picture that you're really competing for, you know, that it didn't really matter to me if I got to compete or not. I needed the best team to be out there. And when you like really like reconcile that in your soul and you put your best foot forward, like good stuff just starts to happen. Like it was just unbelievable the way that, my life was just moved, and all the things I learned, life skills, like just conflict resolution. Like I turned 30 September. So I started bobsled in July. I turned 30 that September, and then I competed in February. But I'm saying that to say, you know, you would think at 30 you've learned quite a few things in life. And I felt like in that 6 months, I learned more than I had probably learned in the last 10 years about, like I said, how to handle myself, what kind of person I wanted to be, what was important in life. Like, it was really good.
Cool.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Sports can do a lot for you. And if you're connected in that moment, like, you can really understand what sports get to do for you.
Cool. What would you say was your big takeaway from like that part of your competing career, or just you growing as a person?
My biggest takeaway?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll tell a story to be able, it's not like a thing per se, but it's like an intangible thing, if you will. So about 48 hours before the race, we wrecked our sled. And to this day, we're not really sure how we wrecked our sled, but we basically totaled our sled. So we're in Sochi, Russia. The sled is $80,000. We have brand new state-of-the-art sleds, and ours is now totaled. And it's 48 hours before the race. Like we're favored to either win or, we're going to battle for the championship. They had to go and steal a prototype from the USA House, bring it back to where we were, and overnight, in less than 24 hours, rebuild our sled. So our sled is rebuilt now, which is just a miracle in and of itself. And it's the last day of practice that's available to us. And we just get in the sled and hope for the best. There's no way they could have rebuilt the sled in less than 24 hours in the state that it was in the day before. So we go, we push, we jump in, ride. We had the fastest time of the day in our sled. And we didn't push hard at all. So pushing is the part that makes the sled go fast. That's what I am. I'm the pusher. Anyways, we get back to the top of the mountain. So you go to the bottom, of course, and you put your sled on a truck, and then you ride back up to be able to go down again. And everybody from all the nations everywhere was cheering. It was as if we had just won the Olympics. So many people were united behind us and realized what had just happened in the last 24 hours. And, I said, people really wanted the good people to get there to be able to be on the line and race that day. So they were excited for us. And just to get back in that moment and to see people yeah, you guys did it. It was practice. It was 2 days before the games. And these were all the people we were competing against. So that's what is the kind of stuff that I learned to value and the kind of feelings that I got from participating in it. Yeah. Explain it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a thing, but it's a thing.
Cool.
It's an experience that is really hard to recreate, and to see genuine excitement in people, and people genuinely wanting to see you do well.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So what's up?
It's cool runnings.
Right?
Right. That's pretty much all I knew about bobsled before.
Well,
all right. Well, if there's nothing else, then.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks again.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you hopefully next month. Also, if you have topics, as always, I know Jay's probably tired of hearing it. Jay has perfect attendance to all of the Business of Track and Field webinars.
Okay.
I'm a little late, but still there.
You made it. As long as you're here, it counts. But if you guys have topics of things that you would like people to present on, or things you'd like to learn more about, then let me know. So we've done taxes, we've done social media and branding, we've done a Veterans Day, so where athletes that had long careers in the sports kind of talked about their experiences. And then tonight was why you might need a financial planner and how to find one.
Now, question, I haven't been on the other chats. Is there a place that I get access to those recordings as well?
Yeah, I'll email you now that I have your email address. I'll send them all to you.
Cool.
And I'll make sure that you get added to the Slack channel so that you can find them. Because you got the email from Kim to find this one, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll get you in the Slack group, and then I'll send them all to you tonight.
I don't think I'm in that group.
Yeah. You are in the group, Jocelyn? Or not?
I don't think I am.
Yeah, but I don't have your email address either, actually. I have you through ACE. So send me your email address as well.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Nice meeting you guys.
Nice meeting you as well. You guys have a great night.
Thank you. Good luck in your future competitions.
You
Guys
too.
too.
Thank you.
Bye.